I honestly don't understand how I only have one face, but somehow my bathroom is packed with like 40 or 50 different bottles of stuff. And that's when I realized, this probably isn't just a me problem. Hey everyone. So today, I finally decided I'm going to tackle this whole mess and bring you along while I declutter my bathroom, because it has definitely gotten way out of control. This is just my real experience. And if your bathroom is starting to look like mine did, you can totally use this as a guide while you clean too. After a few failed attempts at decluttering in the past, I finally figured out a simple system with 8 steps. They're super easy to follow, and honestly, they work right away. And especially the last step, I have a little trick that helps keep the bathroom clean way longer without it getting messy again. So make sure you stick around for that part. All right, let's get started. Oh, and if this is your first time watching my channel, welcome. I usually share practical home decluttering and organizing videos like this. If you're into this kind of content, don't forget to subscribe and come along with me for the next cleaning and decluttering videos. Alright, so step 1 is actually the most important thing I learned after messing this up a few times before. Before you start touching anything in the bathroom, prepare 4 containers first. They really don't have to be anything fancy. I'm literally just using a few big bags and a couple of random bins I already had at home. The reason I do this is because in the past, I would start decluttering without any system. I'd pick up a bottle stand there for a few seconds thinking about it and then just put it back on the counter because I didn't know where else to put it. And that's usually the moment when the whole cleaning session starts to slow down. So now I always set up 4 simple categories before I begin. The first one is the Use Now bin. This is for the things I actually use almost every day. Stuff like my toothbrush cleanser, the skincare products I'm currently using, and a few basic items I reach for every morning or night. The second one is the storage bin. These are items that I still want to keep, but I don't use them daily. For example, extra products I bought as backups, or things I only use once in a while like face masks, exfoliators, or hair treatments. The third one is the Donate or Give Away bin. This is for items that are still perfectly fine but just don't work for me. Maybe the product is good but it doesn't suit my skin, or maybe I tried it once and just know I'm never going to use it again. Instead of letting it sit in my bathroom for another year, I'd rather pass it on to someone who might actually use it. And the last one is the trash bin. This is for anything expired, broken, or clearly not usable anymore. Honestly, having these 4 bins ready makes the whole decluttering process so much smoother. When I pick something up, I don't overthink it. I just quickly decide where it belongs and drop it into the right bin. It keeps things moving and makes the whole process feel way less overwhelming. Also, quick little sneak peek for the next video after this bathroom declutter, I'm going to move over to my workspace. I'll finally show you the real situation on my desk and start cleaning and sorting it together with you. So if you're curious to see how messy it actually is and how I deal with it, make sure you come back and watch that one as well. But for now, let's start with the actual decluttering. Step 2 is taking everything out of the bathroom shelves. I start with the cabinet under the sink. This is usually where a lot of random things pile up over time. I pulled out extra shampoo bottles, backup toothpaste, some skincare I bought months ago, and never opened a few travel-size products, and even a couple of old cleaning supplies that somehow ended up there. Then I moved to the drawers. In my drawers, I usually keep smaller items, so I took out things like razors, nail clippers, cotton pads, hair ties, lip balms, and some skincare tools. There were also a few random things that honestly didn't even belong in the bathroom anymore, like old receipts and a couple of empty product boxes. After that, I cleared everything from the sink area. All the bottles sitting around the faucet, my face wash moisturizer, sunscreen, hand soap, and even the little cup that holds my toothbrush. Normally, these things just live there every day, but for this step, I remove them all so the surface is completely empty. Then I checked the shower area. I took out all the shampoo bottles, conditioner, body wash, and a few products that had been sitting in the corner for a long time that I honestly forgot about. I placed everything on the floor on a dry towel so the bottles wouldn't get dirty or wet. Seeing everything together like that was actually a little shocking. There were way more items than I thought. One small tip that really helps is to make sure the bathroom floor is dry before you do this. Because once all the bottles and containers are on the floor while you sort them, you don't want them sliding around in water or picking up soap residue. At this point, the shelves, drawers, and sink area are completely empty. It might look a little messy on the floor for a moment, but this step makes the rest of the decluttering process so much easier. When everything is out in the open, you can clearly see what you actually have, and it becomes much simpler to start sorting things into the bins we prepared earlier. Alright, now that everything is out on the floor. Step 3 is where the real decluttering actually starts. This is the part I call the expiration check, and honestly, this step alone usually removes a surprising amount of stuff. What I do is pretty simple. I just start picking up items one by one and checking the little open jar symbol on the packaging. You've probably seen it before. It usually says something like 6 months, 12 months, or sometimes 24 months. That basically means the product is supposed to be used within 6 months, 12 months, or 24 months after you open it. When I went through my bathroom stuff, I quickly realized that I had quite a few products that had clearly been sitting there way longer than they should. Some moisturizers I opened a long time ago, a couple of serums I tried for a few days, and then forgot about, and even an old sunscreen bottle that had been pushed to the back of the cabinet. And I know this is where a lot of people hesitate because sometimes the product was expensive. I've definitely had moments where I thought, this cost me quite a bit, maybe I should just keep it. But the truth is, using expired skincare can actually cause more problems than it solves. It can irritate your skin, cause breakouts, or just stop working completely. And honestly, dealing with a skin reaction later is way more expensive than letting go of an old product. So if something is clearly past its recommended time after opening, I don't overthink it anymore. It just goes straight into the trash bin. Another small trick I use is when the expiration symbol is rubbed off or hard to read, which happens pretty often with bottles that have been sitting in a humid bathroom. In that case, I just check the product itself. If the smell has changed, if the color looks different, or if the texture feels weird compared to when it was new, that's usually a clear sign that it's time to let it go. Going through everything this way actually made a big dent in the pile on my floor. Quite a few items went straight into the trash bin, and it immediately made the rest of the decluttering process much easier. Alright, so after getting rid of the expired stuff, the pile of things I'm keeping is already much smaller. Now step 4 is something simple but really satisfying, cleaning the bottles and containers before putting them back. Because if you look closely, a lot of bathroom products get pretty dirty over time. The bottoms of the bottles collect dust, the caps get sticky from soap or skincare residue, and sometimes there's that weird slippery film from humidity in the bathroom. So what I do here is grab a damp cloth and quickly wipe down the items that I decided to keep. I'm not doing a deep clean or anything complicated. I just wipe the sides of the bottles, the caps, and especially the bottom part, because that's the part that usually sits on the shelf collecting dust and water stains. When I started wiping them down, I realized some of my bottles were actually pretty grimy. A few shampoo bottles had soap buildup around the lid, and some skincare containers had fingerprints and product residue all over them. It only takes a few seconds to wipe them, but it makes a huge difference. The main reason I do this step is because later we're going to put these items back on clean shelves. It just feels wrong to clean the whole cabinet and then place a bunch of sticky bottles right back on it. For things like my toothbrush holder or mouth rinse cup, I do something a little extra. I usually soak them in hot water with a bit of salt for a few minutes. Sometimes I just pour boiling water over them if the material allows it. It's a quick way to sanitize them and get rid of any bacteria that might have built up over time. This step doesn't take very long, but it makes everything feel a lot fresher. Once the bottles are wiped down and the small items are cleaned, the things I'm keeping actually start to look much nicer and more organized already, even before they go back into the bathroom. Alright, now that all the bottles are wiped down and the products I'm keeping are set aside, this is actually my favorite part of the whole process. Step 5 is cleaning the shelves and cabinets while they're completely empty. This moment doesn't happen very often because normally the shelves are always full of products. But since we already took everything out earlier now, we finally have a chance to clean the space properly. So what I usually do is spray some bathroom cleaner on the shelves inside the cabinet, under the sink, and around the sink area. Then I take a cloth and start wiping everything down. You'd be surprised how much dust and residue can build up in these spots, especially in a humid place like the bathroom. When I cleaned the cabinet under my sink, I noticed there were a few water stains and some old product spills that had probably been sitting there for months. Those are the kinds of things you don't really notice when the cabinet is full, but once everything is empty, they become really obvious. I also pay extra attention to the little corners and edges. Those hidden corners are where dirt and moisture tend to collect the most. Sometimes there are yellowish stains or soap buildup along the edges of the shelves or near the wall. One small trick that helps a lot is using an old toothbrush. It sounds simple, but it works really well for cleaning tiny spaces that a regular cloth can't reach. I usually use it to scrub around the cabinet hinges, the corners of the shelves, and any small gaps where dirt gets stuck. The hinges especially can get a little rusty over time because of the moisture in the bathroom, so giving them a quick scrub makes them look much better. This step doesn't take very long, but it makes a huge difference. Once the shelves and cabinets are fully wiped down, the whole bathroom already starts to feel cleaner and fresher. And it also feels really satisfying knowing that when the products go back in later, they're going into a clean space instead of sitting on dusty shelves again. All right, now that the shelves and cabinets are finally clean, it's time to start putting things back. This is step 6, and this is where I bring out the items from the Use Now bin, the things I actually use every day. These are the products that I reach for the most, like my face wash, moisturizer, sunscreen, toothbrush, and a few basic skincare items. Since I'm using these daily, I make sure they go in the most convenient spots. For me, that usually means placing them either right on the sink counter or on the shelf that's around eye level. Basically anywhere that's easy to grab without having to bend down, open drawers, or dig through a bunch of other things. One simple rule I try to follow here is the more often you use something, the easier it should be to reach. So everyday items stay in the most visible and accessible spots, while the things I don't use as often will go inside the cabinet or on lower shelves later. Another small thing that really helps is using clear trays or small plastic organizers. I'm not doing anything fancy here, just simple trays that help keep things grouped together. For example, I keep my skincare products in one tray, and if you have shaving products, those can go in another tray. That way, everything that belongs together stays together. What I like about this is that instead of picking up 5 different items one by one, you can just pull the tray forward and everything is already there. It also keeps the counter from looking messy because the bottles aren't scattered everywhere. When I finished placing my daily items back, the sink area already looked a lot calmer compared to before. There were fewer bottles, everything had a clear place, and it felt much easier to see what I actually use every day. Alright, now we're moving on to step 7, which is organizing the backup products from the storage bin. These are the items I decided to keep, but I don't actually use them every day. Usually this includes things like extra shampoo, backup toothpaste, extra body wash, or skincare products I bought during a sale but haven't opened yet. Instead of putting these items back randomly, I like to treat them like a small storage area. So I usually place them either in the deeper drawers, the cabinet under the sink, or the highest shelf where I don't need to reach very often. The key idea here is that these products shouldn't compete for space with the things you use daily. If everything is mixed together, it becomes really easy to forget what you already have, and that's usually how we end up buying duplicates. So when I place the backup products in the cabinet, I follow a simple rule. Older items stay in the front, newer ones go in the back. That way the products that need to be used sooner are always the easiest to grab. This helps avoid a very common problem where backup products get pushed further and further to the back of the cabinet, and then months later you suddenly realize they're already expired. One small trick I started doing recently is writing the purchase date directly on the bottle with a permanent marker. It sounds simple, but it helps a lot. When you look at the bottle later, you immediately know roughly how long it has been sitting there. This step also helps keep the bathroom feeling lighter. Instead of having backup products scattered everywhere now, they're all in one clear spot. You know exactly where they are, and when you finish a product, you can simply go to that storage area and grab the next one without digging through the entire bathroom again. Alright, now we're at the final step, and this one is actually more important than it looks. Step 8 is simply getting the extra stuff out of the house right away. By this point, we should have 2 bins left from earlier, the trash bin and the donate or giveaway bin. What I've learned from my past cleaning attempts is that if you leave these bins sitting around the house, there's a very high chance you'll start second-guessing your decisions. I've done this before. I decluttered everything, felt really good about it. And then a couple of days later, I walked past the bag and thought, maybe I should keep this one. It wasn't that bad. And somehow a few things slowly made their way back into the bathroom. So now I try to deal with these 2 bins immediately. For the trash bin, I just tie the bag and take it straight out to the garbage. No waiting until tomorrow, no leaving it in the corner. Once it's out, it's out. For the items in the donate or giveaway bin, I usually take a quick photo and send it to a few friends or family members to see if anyone wants them. Sometimes someone is happy to take a product that just didn't work for me. If not, I just pack everything into a bag and plan to drop it off for donation the same day or the next day. The main goal here is simply to move these things out of your living space as soon as possible. Because the longer they stay in the house, the easier it is to fall back into that maybe I'll keep it mindset. And honestly, carrying that big bag of stuff out of the house is one of the most satisfying moments in the whole decluttering process. It's the moment when you really feel like the space is lighter and calmer again. So if you're following along with this process, don't skip this last step. Take the bags, bring them out, and let them go. Your bathroom and honestly your mind will feel so much better after that. And that's the whole process I used to declutter my bathroom. Once everything was done, the space immediately felt lighter and much easier to use. Fewer bottles, everything easier to find, and mornings feel way less chaotic. In the next video, I'm going to move to another area of the house that honestly needs even more help, my workspace. I'll show you the real mess on my desk and start the first day of cleaning and decluttering it together. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to like and share it with someone who might also need a bathroom reset. And if you enjoy simple, realistic decluttering videos like this, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss the next Clean with Me. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.